My guest, Aaron Clarey, is the author of the book Worthless, the young person's indispensable guide to choosing the right major. You know, also, Aaron, not just choosing the right major, but whether to major in anything, whether to even go to college in the first place. I think a lot of people should think about that. I mean, it's looked on as a given, right? Well, you just have to go. You graduate high school, and if you're at the top of your class, you're an honor student, you took a lot of AP courses. I mean, it might make sense to just go right on. But I think for a lot of people who kind of coasted through, with C's, and they're not really sure. I think it's a mistake to go to college right after high school. I think you should go out and work for a while and figure out what you want to do. Maybe if you find out that you don't need a college degree, I think that's why colleges don't want people going from high school to the workforce before they go back, because a lot of people might find that they don't need to go, and so they want to get you there right away before you can figure that out.
Right. Well, I mean, right here, I'm in Minneapolis, and there's a lot of kids, graduating with just a 2-year degree in Votech or a tech school, and they're all going out to the Bakken oil field in North Dakota. And these kids, 18, 19, 20, they're bringing in $60, $70, $100,000 sometimes because they got the skills, and that's where the jobs are. These kids that go and get a master's in English, even though everybody already speaks English in this country, they're the ones still living at their parents' basement at the age of 32.
I mean, what good? The only good an English major is if you want to teach it. In fact, most majors, to me, particularly if they're liberal arts majors, the only reason to get one is if you want to teach that subject. But there's nothing that you can actually do with it other than teach other people, the degree, the stuff you learned.
Right. And this is highlighted on a cartoon called Archer. I don't know how many people watch it. It's one of my favorite cartoons. But they call it the circle of why bother. They're talking to an archaeology major, I think, and they say, "What do you do with that?" They say, "Well, I teach it." They're like, "To who?" And the guy says, "Future archaeology majors." They're like, "So what's the point of the whole study?" And there is no point. It's just simply to keep reemploying. It's a parasitical circular reference. If it doesn't offer society anything, no one from outside academia is going to pay for it, then it's merely just a hobby. And if it's just a hobby, why are you paying some washed-up professor $4,000 a class for something that you can go down to the local library, look it up on the Internet for free?
Yeah, how many people actually make a living as an archaeologist? There are archaeologists out there, and I'm not really sure if they're, they might be funded by museums or, but there is a legitimate reason to major in archaeology if you're going to be an archaeologist. Maybe some people think they can be the Indiana Jones, and be out there as an archaeologist or something. But yeah, the vast majority of people that major in archaeology, either they go on to teach it or they never use it for anything other than, something that they got to major in.
Right. And it's identical to an educational Ponzi scheme. Not everybody can go and become the next generation of teachers because mathematically or exponentially speaking, 4 or 5 generations, everyone would be an English major or everyone would be a sociology major. So, as evidenced in your video that you did, you were talking to all the bartenders, all the ladies of the evening, and they all kind of had those degrees. There's some engineers and accountants in there, but the vast majority of those people were not in their field because there is no demand for people in that field.
Yeah, in fact, I remember I spoke to a woman. I remember one time who was unemployed, and I said, well, she said, well, there's no jobs in my field. And I asked her what she studied. I forget what it was. But, she wasn't even looking for jobs outside of her field. The fact that she couldn't get a job in her field meant that she wasn't even – it's like, you major in something there's hardly any demand for it. In a real free market, nobody would be doing that. But in this distorted market that we have where the government subsidizes it all, and especially, that we used to protect children. The age of majority used to be 21 in this country. And if you were under 21, even if you signed a contract, it was void. Now, that's still the case today for a 15-year-old. but we're letting 18 and 19-year-olds enter into these contracts that are basically disastrous for them. I mean, they don't know any better. They spent their whole life living at home, playing video games, watching television. They've never had a job. They don't understand anything. And they're asked to sign up for the college and take on this enormous amount of liability for some promise. They've been suckered. And we're allowing, young people to be conned by politicians and educators, that are basically snake oil peddlers. And everybody wants to be afraid of big business. What about big education? What about what they're doing?
Right. Well, and a lot of this, it boils down on the folks, and it's kind of scary because it shows how old I'm getting. My generation is now the parents starting to have these 16, 17-year-olds, and they should be having this chat. Well, shoot, I went to college with my generation, and my generation is no generation you want to be taking advice from. They don't know about starting salaries or engineering. My generation is the one to follow your heart and the money will follow. And boy, wasn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers really cool? That's the extent of our leadership. So you have parents who, one, don't know and can't have the heart-to-heart talk with their kids because they don't know. And then two, it's the same. We got the same stuff from the baby boomers telling us, yeah, follow your heart and the money will follow. Like, yeah, follow your heart and the money will follow, without ever taking a look at the empirical evidence as to what's going on. So it's inevitably it will crash, and inevitably we will learn our economic lessons. It's just I wish we could have learned from the wisdom of our forefathers and in previous generations so that we could actually advance rather than repeating the same mistakes.
Well, of course, we have no more wisdom. I mean, look at the coverage of Cyber Monday, right, and Black Friday. I mean, we're just a bunch of people stampeding over one another to get a deal, on a flat screen that was made in Korea, and everybody thinks that this is great, that Americans are just trampling over each other to buy stuff, and probably the average Black Friday, Cyber Monday shopper, has a negative net worth. They've got no money. They've got credit card debts. They've got student loans. They've got car debts. They've got mortgages. And instead of paying their debts down or building up their savings, they're blowing more money on stuff they can't afford and don't need.
Right. But, Pete, that doesn't matter. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because the New York Giants beat Green Bay, and so I'm really happy about that. It was a really cool game, man. It was, really awesome that they beat. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's bread and circuses time. Most people, I mean, now my friends have gotten older, and some people are actually listening to me, and then they say, oh, wow, he did predict the housing bubble, things like that. But that's only within my sphere of friends. Most people, if you give them the choice of, hey, let's go get a really great deal on a 20-inch flat-screen TV or whatever, or, hey, let's start looking at the underfunded pension liabilities as a percentage of GDP, they're always going to go to default. I mean, it was confirmed with the election of Barack Obama. Here you had
the dumbing down of America. Despite the fact we're probably the best educated group of idiots in the history of the world, because we all have college degrees, but nobody knows anything. Anyway, hey Aaron, thanks a lot. Good luck with your book. Hour 2 of the Peter Schiff Show coming up. So stick around.